Okay, I want you to picture this. It's Tuesday. You're out for a walk with your dog. You've got the treat pouch. You've got the clicker. You've watched, I don't know, every single YouTube tutorial on loose leash walking. And for like 4 minutes, things are going
But you're feeling good. You're thinking, we've got this.
totally. We finally cracked it. And then a squirrel exists. Or a skateboarder rolls by 3 blocks away. And just like that, the dog you were walking is gone. Poof, replaced by this wild animal.
And all that training just evaporates.
It's gone. You try to get them to sit, you try to lure them with cheese, but it's like the wires have been cut. And later you're just sitting at home thinking, why? Why does this keep happening? We practiced this in the living room.
It is the single most frustrating loop in dog ownership. And honestly, it's where most people just give up. They think, my dog is stubborn, or worse, I'm just bad at this.
Well, today we are diving into something that might just be the answer. We're looking at a stack of documents from Spine and Breath. It's an online dog behavior training membership from Lord J. Harris, and specifically, we're looking at the integration week of the first month.
And what's so interesting about this material is that it's not a how-to in the way we usually think. We are not going to talk about how to teach a better sit today.
Right.
The whole mission of this deep dive, and the core idea of Harris's work here, is to explore this radical idea that most training fails because, biologically speaking, it just arrives too late.
That phrase really stuck with me. Arrives too late.
It's the key. It's everything. By
Yeah.
the time you're asking for behavior, by the time you're saying Fido, sit, the dog's nervous system has already decided if it's safe enough to learn.
Or if it needs to protect itself.
Exactly. And if you miss that window, you aren't really training. You're just background noise to a survival event.
So we're moving from doing the commands, the mechanics, to being. Looking at the nervous system of both the human and the dog.
Oh, they're completely linked. You can't regulate one end of the leash if the other end is in chaos. It's a biofeedback loop.
Okay, so let's get into this 7-layer spark. It's described as a field guide to motivation. And it starts with this analogy that made me laugh, but it's brilliant. It says, motivation problems are often nervous system problems, such as wearing a fake mustache.
I love that line. It catches you so off guard, but it's really profound, isn't it?
It's just such a weird image.
Yeah.
A dog in a fake mustache. So break that down for us. What does that actually mean?
It means that what we see as personality or refusal is often a disguise. We think the dog's being stubborn or, blowing us off. But what's really happening is they're wearing a costume to protect themselves.
So the nervous system is put on a disguise.
Yes, because it doesn't feel safe to be authentic in that moment.
So under the mustache, under the barking or the lunging, there's a drive running the show.
Exactly. Motivation isn't a trait, it's not my dog is lazy. It's a state. It's like a weather pattern moving through the body. And the guide breaks it down into levels. If you're stuck, you have to ask, what level is running the system right now?
And level 1 is survival. The drive is simply keep me safe.
Right, that's the foundation. The shadow emotion here is fear, scarcity, dread, all the heavy stuff.
I think every single dog owner knows this feeling. The source describes it as white-knuckling. You're rushing, you're gripping the leash so tight your hand hurts, just bracing for impact.
And the dog is barking, lunging, maybe freezing up completely. And here's the key insight from the text. Flow cannot happen in terror. There's a quote I highlighted. The brain won't play piano while it's putting out a fire.
Wow, that is such a vivid image. You're standing there trying to get your dog to perform a sonata, a perfect heel, some good eye contact, and their brain is just screaming, fire, fire, fire.
And yet, what do? We usually try to train through the fire, we ask for more, we dangle better treats. But at level 1, the learning center of the brain is literally offline. It physically cannot process a command.
It can only process survival.
That's it.
Okay, so if we find ourselves there, the fire is burning, what do we do? Because the old advice is push through it.
Right.
But this guide gives us a field move called the 60-second stabilizer.
Yeah, this is a triage move. And it's important to say this isn't about fixing the behavior in that moment. It's about stabilizing the physiology. The instruction is super specific. You put one hand on your dog's chest and one on their lower ribs.
Okay, so a physical connection.
Yes. And then, and this part is for the human, you exhale longer than you inhale for about 6 rounds. You don't say anything to the dog. You don't shush them. You just breathe.
So we're regulating ourselves to regulate the dog.
You have to. If your heart is racing, the dog feels that. Through the leash, through your scent, you are the anchor. And there's a mantra in the text, which I found so grounding. We are not dying. We are learning.
We are not dying. We are learning. I think I need that on a t-shirt.
Me too. It shifts your internal state from panic, oh my God, everyone is staring at me, to one of guidance. It reminds you that this is a classroom, not a battlefield.
And once you've done the breathing,
You reduce the challenge, you leave, you get distance, you prove to the nervous system that you listen to the alarm.
that leads perfectly into level 2 because you mentioned everyone is staring at me. Level 2 is belonging. The drive here is keep me connected.
This is such a fascinating layer because it's so much about the human's social anxiety. The shadow emotion here is shame, rejection, embarrassment.
The source talks about the handler feeling watched, like you're performing good dog ownership for the neighbors.
It's the neighbor factor. And if you're training just to avoid embarrassment, your energy becomes really brittle. You get tight, you get sharp, and the dog feels that disconnect instantly.
And they think, oh no, I'm losing my human.
Precisely. Connection is a nervous system nutrient. If you cut that supply because you're embarrassed, the dog enters a deficit and their anxiety spikes.
So the solution for this is something called a no apology agreement.
It is. It's a verbal agreement you make with yourself before you even pick up the leash. We're allowed to be learners. We're allowed to leave. We're allowed to start smaller than expected.
That permission to be messy, that seems huge.
Yeah.
It takes all the pressure off. And when the pressure's off, I imagine the fire is less likely to start in the first place.
Exactly. You shift the goal from performance to connection.
Okay, so let's say we've stabilized survival. We've dealt with belonging. We're not dying and we're not embarrassed. Now we actually want to teach something. This brings us to pillar the third. When matters more than what?
This comes from the Integration Week materials, and it just fundamentally changes how you think about cues. Traditional training is command, then action. I say sit, the dog sits.
Right, it's just input, output.
But Harris argues that learning is decided in the microscopic moment before the cue is even given.
Right, before. How can it be decided before you even ask?
Yeah. Because cues don't create readiness, they land on it. If the nervous system isn't ready, the cue is just static. It's interference.
The text talks about the difference between not yet and now. How do we spot that? Because, I mean, to me, my dog just looks like my dog.
You have to look for what they call access signals or green lights. If the dog is scanning the environment, head swiveling, sniffing frantically, the nervous system is screaming, not yet. The browser is still loading.
And if I give a command while the browser is loading...
You crash the system. Or, best case, you get ignored.
So what's a green light? What am I looking for?
You're looking for a physiological shift, a full exhale, a soft jaw, not clenched shut, fluid body movements, that moment of stillness in the scanning. Those are the biological signals that the channel is open.
It's like waiting for a pause in the conversation before you speak, instead of just shouting over someone.
That's a perfect analogy. And this leads to the rhythm of learning. We often get into these neurologically busy states where it's just cue, 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 reward, reward, reward.
Oh, guilty. I feel like if I keep the treats coming, nothing bad can happen. Like I'm bribing them to stay cool.
But the text warns against that. Training isn't made of cues, it's made of intervals. The silence between the moments is where the learning actually breathes. If you interrupt that processing time with constant chatter or food, integration can't happen.
This connects to something called the moment after. I read this and I realized I do this wrong all the time. The dog does the thing. Let's say they sit nicely when a stranger passes. My instinct is to throw a party. Good boy. Yes. Good job. And tons of vigorous petting.
And that comes from such a good place, from love. But look at it from the nervous system's perspective. The dog just successfully navigated a stressor. They held it together, they're probably a little tight. And now, instead of letting them process that success and release the tension,
I just ramp them right back up again.
you flood them with high energy and pressure. You're preventing closure. The system stays braced. The source material suggests something different. SEAL learning with release.
SEAL learning with release. What does that look like practically?
A pause. A deep breath from you, a sniff break for them. You let the body say, that landed, I'm safe now. That quiet moment of release is where the brain files the information away. That is integration.
It's so counterintuitive. We think we need to throw a confetti parade, but what they really need is a quiet moment to, like, save the file.
Precisely.
Okay, speaking of touch, because I mentioned vigorous petting, we have to talk about Breath Week 3. This section focuses on touch, and there's a distinction here that I think is the poetic heart of this whole deep dive. meeting versus reaching.
Oh, this is beautiful stuff. It challenges almost everything we're taught about handling our animals, especially anxious ones.
So define reaching for us.
Reaching comes from the mind. It's forward-moving, it's purposeful, it has an intention behind it. It says, I am going to pet you now to make you feel better, or I'm going to fix this with my hands.
It has an agenda.
Yeah, it has an agenda. It's projecting energy at the dog.
Okay. And meeting?
Meeting comes from the body. It's receptive. It waits. It only responds after the field has already shifted. It says, I am responding to what is already here.
The text uses an analogy. A tuning fork versus a microphone.
Yes. A microphone just records data, right? But a tuning fork, it resonates. When you're meeting, your body is listening like a tuning fork. You're resonating with the dog's state, not trying to change it.
This gets into the ethics of touch. The guide says touch is not a tool to achieve change, which is, wow, I definitely use touch to try to achieve change. The whole calm down, it's okay, shh thing.
We all do. But the argument here is that touch should only be used to acknowledge a change that has already started organizing itself.
So we wait for the dog to soften, and then we meet that softness with our hand.
Exactly. If you touch a braced, tense dog, you're just adding another input to a system that's already overwhelmed. But if you wait for that exhale, that little softening of the muscles, and then you place a hand, that touch validates the safety. It says, I hear you, we're safe.
There's a really practical instruction here for when we get it wrong. Yeah, because we will. It says, if the body tightens, pulls away, or freezes.
The human must withdraw cleanly and without disappointment. And that last part is key. Without disappointment.
That's the hard part, isn't it? Because if I reach out to my dog and they pull away, I feel a little rejected.
Then they feel that. If you pull away with a heavy sigh or a vibe of, fine, be that way, you've just added emotional weight, you have to be clean. Message received, I'm listening.
But if the body softens under your hand?
Then you remain. Not to do anything, not to rub or scratch. You just remain because nothing is being asked.
Nothing is being asked. That feels like the perfect bridge to our final segment, which is about the passive path.
Yes. This is from week 3 of the breath limb. We've done the active stuff. Now we look at passive bioenergy balancing.
Which sounds very scientific, but the instruction is almost shockingly simple. Do nothing.
Which is the hardest thing in the world for most of us, right? We're a culture fixers.
Seriously. The text calls it a quiet orientation. Just sitting with your dog on a mat without trying to improve them or manage them or heal them.
Don't.
Existing. Why is that so important?
Because it builds a specific kind of trust that you can't build any other way. Think about it. Most of our dogs only know us as managers. We're always directing, correcting, rewarding. They rarely experience us just being with them.
Without an agenda.
Exactly. And when you remove the agenda, the dog learns they can be near you without needing to defend themselves or perform. That's where deep nervous system regulation happens. It's what the material calls the breath limb, where learning actually settles, stabilizes, and can survive stress.
There's an image in the text of a vehicle suspension that I thought was just perfect.
Yes. Think of active training, the sits, the recalls as the engine. It moves you forward. It's powerful. But this passive integration, the breath limb, that's the suspension.
Okay.
It absorbs the impact of the road. If you have a Ferrari engine but no suspension, the first pothole destroys the car.
That explains the regression. That explains why the dog unravels when life gets loud. We built the engine, but we completely forgot the suspension.
We did. We focused on the behavior, the destination, but ignored the regulation, the ride. We didn't build the capacity to absorb the bumps.
This is so dense, but in the best possible way. It really flips the script. It's not about the mechanics of the sit, it's about the safety of the connection.
That's the whole thing. If the connection isn't safe, the sit doesn't matter. And if the connection isn't safe, the sit isn't even real.
It's just a fake mustache.
It's just a fake mustache.
We promised a cheat sheet takeaway. There was one rule in the text that stood out as like a lifeline for people who are feeling overwhelmed by all this.
It's the golden rule of the nervous system. If urgency rises, slow down first.
If urgency rises, slow down first.
Yeah.
That feels like it applies to, well, everything, not just dog training.
Driving, parenting, sending an angry email.
Yes.
Yes. Urgency is usually a sign of level 1 survival. You can't solve complex problems from there. You have to slow down to get back to a place where your brain and your dog's brain can actually function.
So if I feel like I need to fix this behavior right now.
That is the exact moment you need to stop and breathe.
I love that.
Yeah.
And to wrap this up, I want to leave everyone with this final thought from the source material. It talks about inevitability.
It's a beautiful promise. The text says that if we start forcing the timing, if we stop reaching with our hands and our minds, learning returns. And it returns with an inevitability that feels like magic, but is just biology honored in time.
Biology honored in time. That's a lovely phrase.
So the question to ask ourselves, and to ask you, the listener, is this. Where in your life are you reaching when you should be meeting?
Oof, that's a big one.
It is. Are you trying to force a result, or are you waiting for the readiness that's already there?
I'm going to be thinking about that all week. We are not dying, we are learning.
Thank you so much for breaking all this down with me. It was a pleasure. It's important stuff.
And thank you for listening to this deep dive into spine and breath. Go hug your dogs. But, only if they're ready for it.
And check for the green light first.
Exactly.